Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Terry from terryscraftroom.com. Today we're going to make these adorable little, let me get the light off of it, Rolo flowers in a box. I think I'm going to make these, so I've made several of these, you can see, for craft fairs, and so we're going to make one today. What do we need? Well, first you need the Rolos. You need 12 Rolos for one box, and then you need scraps of paper. For the Rolos, you need, these are 3.5 by 3/4 of an inch, and then you need another piece of paper, so you need 12 of these, 6 for each flower, and you need 2 of these. And if you miss any measurements or miss any amounts or anything, go on over to terryscraftroom.com, and all the measurements and amounts. This is a great way to use up scraps. So this piece of paper, it's 4.25 by 3/4, and you need 2 of these, 1 for each flower. You need some scraps to cut out some leaves, and you can cut out the leaves however you want. I happen to use an old retired punch. Some of you may recognize this, and I use this leaf right here to punch out the flowers. You need, let's see, I'm going to use the medium daisy punch and some scraps of yellow and an old scalloped circle punch and a little bitty scrap of early espresso. So here's the medium daisy punch, and you can still get this. This is still available. I'm using a 1 3/8 scallop punch, and I'm going to punch 4 of those out. You need 2 of these for each flower. 2, 3, 4. And just for time's sake, I've already made my daisy, but this daisy is made with 2 of the punched out flowers and then just glued together so that they're, here you can see a little bit, so they're offset. So it gives just a fuller flower. Okay, so let's start. All you do is you take your piece of designer paper and you wrap your Rolo as tight as you can. Okay, and then I like to use, if you've seen any of my videos in the past, you've seen that I almost always use wet glue. I don't put the glue on the Rolo, I put the glue on the paper, and it's going to glue paper to paper. And you want to make sure that's as tight as possible so that the Rolo doesn't fall out. Okay? Just like that, and kind of crease those edges. Now I've got my 6 other my 6 Rolos, and here's my 6 Rolos for my second flower. Okay? This, you notice this one is a different color. It's going to be in the center. We don't care what the color of that one is. So for the sake of time, I already did those. So now we're going to make the flower. We want to kind of roll our piece of cardstock. Let me get my, and we're going to put glue all over the bottom of this. Now you could use glue dots. I've seen it done with glue dots before. I just like the adhesion of wet glue. And this glue dries so fast. Now this one, I'm going to put glue on the bottom. Then I'm going to put a little line of glue on the side. And this is the side where the Rolo's the biggest. You know how the Rolo flares out? So now what I'm going to do, and you need to watch this carefully, I'm going to pull this down a little bit and set this underneath the other Rolo. Just like that. I'm going to let that sit for a second. And then we'll do the same thing with these other 3 yellow ones. I'm going to glue up the bottom, put a line of glue, pull down, and it's sitting just underneath the one previous to it. And the reason being, if you put it just right up next to it, when it rolls around, you're going to see a whole bunch of, but if you kind of tuck it underneath, you don't see much of this paper holding it together. So, and it also holds that center one a little bit tighter. You'll see that in a minute. So, and here's our last one on the outside. And see, we have a little bit hanging here, and we want that because now I'm going to put a line on that first one we did, and then I'm going to glue this one, this flap hanging here, and the flap is going to go under just like that. See that? So the flap is glued under here, and then that first one we did is sitting right next to this last one we did. Real easy. So let's do this other one real quick. First one, you just put it on the bottom, and then you start putting bottom and sides. My glue bottle's getting empty here. Okay, so there we have our basic flowers. Now we've got these extra 2 leftover Rolos, and what I did was, so the height of the Rolo this way is not as big as the width of the Rolo this way. So when you put it in, it's going to sit down inside here, and there's going to be, well, probably 1/8 of an inch difference. So what I did was I put a dimensional on the bottom, and that's going to sit on one of our scalloped circles. Make sure I get in frame, okay? That picks it up a little bit. Now on the top, I put a double dimensional, and that will bring it up high enough. So I'm going to set this down over. Okay, and you don't need to glue any of this on because it's gonna be glued onto this dimensional here. So pull this dimensional off. Remember, this is double dimensioned. I'm going to put this over it, and that keeps it in place. See that? Now we're just gonna glue our flower in place, and then our 2 leaves. Now stay tuned because we're going to make the box for it too. So this is the whole project, not just the Rolos themselves, the Rolo flowers themselves. And I usually wait to put the second set of leaves on the second flower until I see where I need it in the box. Okay, so there's our first Rolo flower. Let's put the second Rolo together. Set that in the center. slide it over the flower here, or slide the flower over it. Okay, so we can do all this part here. And I just took a little saying from, it says a little hello. I just found this in, I don't even remember which stamp set it comes from, but I'll find out and I'll put it on there. I think it's a retired one, like Itty Bitty Sayings or something like that. Anyway, so I'm going to wait and put these on until after I have my box made. So that's those. Now we need to make the box. So I have a piece of cardstock, and I believe this is Parakeet Party, and this is 6 7/8 by 4 1/8, and it is just shy of the 6 7/8 by 4 1/8. I'll show you. So 4 1/8 is right here, and it is, let's see if you can see this. It is just a hair short of the 4 1/8, and the same thing with the 6 7/8. And the reason being so that, and this is just a hair short of the 6 7/8. 6 7/8 is right there, and it's between the 6 and whatever 16th and the 6 7/8. Okay, so we're going to take this and we are going to score it at 7/8 of an inch all the way around. If I can find a scoring tool. Okay, so 7/8 of an inch on all four sides. And this is just a simple box made to fit exactly these Rolos. Okay, I'm going to set that aside, and then what we need is a window sheet that is 5 7/8 by 3 1/8. And this one we're going to score at 3/8 all the way around. And this is a little bit harder to score, so you kind of want to make sure it's got a really good score line in it, so that when you go to fold and burnish it, you know where the score line is and it doesn't fold in the wrong place. So you see how I'm really giving it a good zhuzh in there with that scoring tool. And yes, I say that zhuzh word a lot in my classes, and it's an official Terry term in my classes. We have lots of official Terry terms in my classes. Okay, so you can see that this is scored well. Okay, let's back out just, here you go. We have good solid score lines on that, okay? Okay, so let's make our box and our lid. Okay, so we're going to make our tabs. It's easier to see for you. You don't have to fold and burnish ahead before you cut, but it's easier for you to see what I'm doing because you can see the score lines better if they're folded and burnished. So we're going to cut straight, and remember, when you cut, you always want to cut away the score line. So I'm going to cut on this side of this score line, and it's going to be a straight cut up. And then I'm going to miter this tab, and that will make it sit better and it won't be bulky. And the same thing on the other side. I'm going to cut on this side of this score line and cut straight up. And then I'm going to miter this tab. And by miter, I just mean cut away a little angle so that when, see how it's angled off from this straight cut? Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm cutting on this side of the score line straight up, and you can see that the score line is still on this side. So I'm going to miter and cut that away, and miter and cut that away. And we're going to cut on this side of the score line, and then cut away and cut away. Okay, so this is a pretty easy box. We're going to take our glue and just glue the tabs onto the sides, and making sure that we get a nice crisp 90-degree angle. And the way you get that 90-degree angle is by folding and burnishing with your bone folder and getting a nice crisp corner. And that's going to be a little bit harder on the window sheet, so we'll do that here in just a second. So while you're over at terryscraftroom.com getting all those measurements and stuff, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll get projects in your inbox every week, and projects that you won't see here on my YouTube channel or my blog. So, okay, so here's our lid, and what we want to do, I found it sticks easier if we make the tabs going out to the sides instead of off the ends, and I don't know why. But so we need to fold and burnish these score lines, and Stampin' Up! Sells these window sheets. So if you're looking for these window sheets to make this box, we sell them. And if you don't have a demonstrator and you are looking for product to make this project, I'd be very honored if you could choose me as your demonstrator and buy from me if you are in the US. Okay, so now we've got all our score lines folded and burnished, and I'm going to cut my tabs so that the tabs go sideways. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, you see how this tab is going this way off the end instead of long ways off of the end that way. And we're just gonna cut that score line away again. And I'm not really worrying about the mitering on the outside end. Okay. Now for this won't stick with glue, so we need to get glue dots. And a poker tool, if I can find the right one. I have one of these as a poker tool. And so I'm going to take the mini glue dot, and I'm going to put it on the inside. See right here. And I'm going to fold that tab in on the inside and glue it to the glue dot. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on all four sides. And this tool that I'm using, that I used to score with and I'm using right now, is called a Take Your Pick tool. And it's a really versatile tool. I use it all the time. And let me finish putting this glue dot on. So if you don't know about this tool, it's got, this end has kind of putty on it, so you can pick up pearls and stuff and place them perfectly. This end has a pokey tool, and that's another Terry official word. And then if you pull it out, it's got like a spatula. And then it also comes with this tip, which is 2 scoring tools. So this is what you get, plus an extra putty tip, a refill, all for one price. It's a pretty good deal. Okay, so we have let's make sure our lid fits our box. And yes, it does. So that's why I made the box just a hair shorter than those measurements I gave you, so that the lid would fit over it very nicely. Okay, so here's where we want to go. And I'm going to put the flower with the petals here, so I'm going to put my other petals facing up here. Oh, I didn't bend these. Make them look more realistic if they're not just flat and straight. Okay, so let's put our lid on. There's something in there, some fuzz. And then I have some ribbon right here, and you can take some ribbon so when you tie ribbon to keep this tight, I don't know if you saw what I did. Let's start over. I went through once and then twice, and that way this will stay tight while I tie my bow. It's not as likely to come up. And there's our ribbon, and there we go. I hope you enjoyed our project today. Please be sure and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye!